Chapter 65. No Return. When we reached Compostela, the governor received us very well, giving us of what he had for us to dress in. But for many days I could bear no clothing, nor could we sleep, except on the bare floor. Alvar Nunez Cabeza de Vaca. I walked again into the preposterous privilege of the winged aluminum tube in the modern spiritual jet stream, turbines eating up the oxygen, firing off the remnants of the dinosaurs, consuming the past, to offer us the analysis of the grid of farms below, showing us how it all works if we could only see it, rocketing us all into an uncertain future. Carrying me off to Judgment Ridge, to the heavy clomp of untied boots on rough stone floors, sprouting weeds in the sun on the floor by the windows, snow still in the forest shadows, exuding the last scents of winter as the tips of daffodils began to push up through the dead grass on the sun side of the lodge, even as the rain pounded them. Fayaway was happy to see me alive. I'd never let her know I made it out. But in faith, she'd bought us leather motorcycle jackets, hers brown, with brass zipper and snaps, mine black, with silver. Without questioning, I moved into her room, and we tried to resume the life of the little blue tent. I unloaded the long story of the amorphous events since she'd waved goodbye. I told them colorfully, but not accurately, to Bart and Jane, and even their landlady, but it was all stoned banter, action, reaction. The meanings of those armies of images I couldn't decipher. With Fayaway, honesty was the water. I wanted to be with her in truth, but I couldn't formulate real words for it, even in my mind, and this was a gulf between us. Stinky, Gooch, and Dr. Dan, and the stray dogs they tamed, at the open pit where all the wasted government food was dumped, lay happy as seals on a beach at the end of the heating duct, where they'd become fixtures over the winter. Dogs and boys sleeping there at night in the dirt, and in the days when the snow blew too hard for sledding. Now they waited for the water to be warm enough for fishing. There was snow drifted across the fieldstone floor, by the ill-fitting, heavy handmade door, by the 2-foot galvanized pipe by the stairs up to the lounge. Hot fuel oil-scented air blew into Stinky's long, matted blonde hair, and the dog's hair too, as it had for all the long winter's night, and they all stunk of it. Stinky was the product of the 15th Street Summerhill School, barely literate, but he figured this wasn't a problem for a plumber, which was what he wanted to become. He lived the learn-through-play philosophy of A.S. Neal. By the heating duct, he was alpha dog, keeper of the stash, small but ready with his fists. This feral life at the end of the heating duct went unnoticed, like everything else, by the guy Dick hired to be in charge of the girls' dorm and heating ducts. He was an artist from New York who did not paint. Always drunk and never taught an art class, he'd emerge once in a while laughing at his private jokes. He knew no one's name, but had a nickname for everyone he'd observed through the crack in his door. He called me the Count. I couldn't really settle in, so when Doug suggested we go with a few others in his fly green Maverick to a kid's summer place in Provincetown, I went. The place was in town, but the water was turned off, and the only heat was from the oven's open door. We tripped and took turns pushing each other around in an antique wheelchair that was at the house. In the creeping traffic, I allowed a car to hit me and fell on the ground just to see their reaction. But the car just drove on, hit and run. That dawn, we sat in Doug's Maverick, and as the sun rose, Doug had a screaming convulsion, saying the sun was going to explode, banging the wheel. When the sun was up, he drove away as if nothing had happened, in the same way he'd walked away after busting up some tables in the lodge, screaming at the top of his lungs. One bleak rainy day, while the last snow pile steamed under spruce trees, the last joint was smoked on Judgment Ridge. Stinky pointed out that Randy had told everyone he had a stash whenever they'd get him high, but that was either a lie or he was holding out, because now there was none. The Fly Green Maverick was the only student car on the mountain. Doug and I and a couple of others collected money from everyone to buy all the drugs we could find in Montreal to fix the harsh sobriety of the famine. I was still tripping when we approached U.S. Customs coming back, and the whole flight from the volcano, the Mexican Army, Texas cops, flashed on me when I saw the bright green-yellow lights, the same color as at the Brownsville crossing. I panicked and took a large ball of opium I had in my pocket and put it in my mouth, thinking I'd swallow it if there was a problem. I didn't have the sense to see it would have probably killed me, but I did have the sense to recall that they were certainly going to ask me where I was born, and I couldn't say anything with that big ball in my mouth. So just as we pulled into the lights, I spat the ball into my hand and put my hand under my leg to conceal the tinfoil. The guy came out, looked at us, asked where we were born, and though we were all tripping, we more or less answered. He just waved us through without asking to see ID. It was 3 a.m. We were all underage, tripping. The car smelled of hash smoke. I can only think that office must have been mighty warm and cozy. We had such a load, and the laws were so harsh, we'd probably all still be in jail if he'd asked us anything more. Through the zebra-striping tree shadows of spring, we returned with quite a haul. That night I saw a scene at the heating duct, a prophecy of all society would offer these post-psychedelicized souls. The whole feral boy pack was lying motionless with the dogs, with drool dripping from one open mouth, silent and still. The pack was most interested in the seconal we brought, an intolerable inebriant to me, asleep rather than a dream. The same barbiturate the psychiatrist prescribed my dad, which, added to gin, produced a momentary bozo and then sleep. They took so much, they went right to the black gondola. Hasta la madre. I returned to the crystal meth train that I'd left at the mouth of heaven, sometimes with opium to see if the dream realm held some answers. Sleep never cut through all the meth, but more mechanistic systems came upon me like a disease, to give form to the systems that developed in my feverish head. In rare moments of clear skies, I'd walk the forest alone, the bare branches like roots to the sky, that would hold the leaves that would drink the sun, like the roots would drink the nutritional moisture that they make into maple sugar. This was the scale of symbiosis at Judgment Ridge. I figured everything must be in symbiosis, but I was in symbiosis with nothing, embroiled in my pensive, in-head elaborations. Everything was clear outdoors, but inside I was lost. Only Dr. Dan, a fellow meth enthusiast, would follow my rants, ranting back about his geodesics and chemistry, which, I think, he knew nothing about, even if his father was a chemistry professor. As May arrived, it rained almost constantly, and no one went out unless they had to. Meth led me into a constriction of thought, stale and dead. I'd become impatient with Fayaway when she wouldn't follow me down into my logical labyrinth. I was quick to challenge people and make fun of them for being stupid. I wasn't thinking about what other people might have to say. I was listening to my inner meth rant, and my cranial isolation grew. I didn't notice much going on outside my head. but I did notice Randy sitting on the same spot on that tattered couch by the fireplace where I'd sat in the fall, hoping to get a look at her ass. He'd grimace if he saw me come out of her door, but it didn't register. I was running my ideas like a rat in a maze, but I wasn't feeling them. And feeling is at the bottom of every idea. These were just puzzles without solutions. Then one day the meth bag was empty. I hadn't slept in more than a week. Once it wore off, I fell asleep in the afternoon, and I slept soundly and dreamlessly without gaps. I was awoken by Randy telling me Dick wanted to see me. Fayaway was up and about. I could tell by the sound coming from below that it was lunchtime. I walked down the hill to Dick's old farmhouse, and he asked me if I'd been living in the girls' dorm and if I'd been selling drugs. I was too reamed out to deny it. I gathered the drugs I hadn't sold and could call mine, and they put me on a one-way plane back to Buffalo, and that was that.